All right, good evening. March Madness is done. So congratulations to the Gators. And now it's finally baseball season. That's right. Yeah. So if you're ready for a nap, now's the time to take it.
Go Rangers.
All right. Welcoming to a wonderful day. It's kind of nice to have winter at 7 a.m., spring at 10 a.m. and summer by 4 p.m. So we get three in a day. So we're going to start this council meeting off tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. flag led by Member Stephanie O'Banion. The Texas Pledge will be led by City Manager Sam Listy, and then Wade Carpenter will have the invocation. Please rise.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one under God, one and indivisible.
Please join me in prayer. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so very much for this beautiful day that we're having today and all the blessings you've bestowed on us. But we also know that we have our fellow countrymen in the Southeast who are suffering from floods and tornadoes, and we ask your special care for them. Thank you for the opportunity to serve here in Belton, Texas, and for the great community that we have, the city staff that we have, our first responders, and all those who contribute to make this a place to live. Help us and guide us as we make deliberations, and give us when you fail that you can, we ask. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, we will call this council meeting to order Tuesday, April 8th at 5:32 p.m. here at the Harris Community Center. Again, welcome. The first item on the agenda is public comments. I have at least one that has signed up for public comments. If not signed up, you're welcome to come and speak your piece. You've got 3 minutes. The first person that I have is Dr. Gary Kent.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Well, Mr. Mayor and esteemed council members, city manager, to the rest of the city leaders, and most of all to the citizens of Bell County. It is an honor to just be able to stand up here before you all. On behalf of the Central Texas Cathedral Worship Center, we extend a heartfelt welcome to each and every one of you all to come down and join with us and help lift up the name of Jesus, as well as to encourage the young people to get involved, because so often the young people want to go in the house and play games. It's time to come on out. But your dedication to growth, your well-being of Belton is inspiring. We recognize the hard work and the sacrifice that you all do to make sure that Belton has a bright future. Okay, together we can foster a spirit of collaboration and unity that uplift every member of our beloved city. I thank you. My congregation thank you for your leadership, your vision, your dedication. We look forward to being able to partner with you all in future events. And I think I still have a few minutes or half a minute. We have also coming up, I just wanted to let you all know that on April 26th, we have what you call a Cowboy Cowgirl Day. That way, if you're not a cowboy or cowgirl, you can put your boots and hats on and you right on in. Let me tell you, we had a horse bounce house, free food, say it again, free food, you know, where I tell you what, kids were walking by like, what's going on over there? You know, and we just had an exciting time, and we're real excited. And what I'm most excited about, hopefully I can go back and tell my congregation, hey, some of the city councilmen and ladies will come by.
So where is it located?
Main Street 7. Let me put my DJ voice.
Gentlemen, is at 700 South Main Street here in Belton. Thank you.
So if you, that's where we are. We're right down the street, on Main Street.
Awesome.
And we just excited about things that are going on here in Belton, and we're excited because we're going to be a part of it. We will be celebrating our 8th year here on April 18th and 19th. You got an open
Invitation.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else to address the council? One way or the other. All right. There being no other public comments, I will save the radio voice and just use my own. Item 3 is fire department promotional announcement and pinning. Assistant Chief Gilbreth. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council. We're here tonight to recognize a few of our outstanding individuals in our department that recently have promoted. You know, we don't have them very often, so when we do, we kind of try to make it kind of a big deal. And that's why we're here tonight to have the pinning ceremony for a few of these guys. So after months of studying and preparation, 3 individuals stood out, ranking at the top of the list. Jeff Booker, who could not be here tonight, as driver operator. Carter Davis is now promoted to lieutenant, and Josh Isbell, who promoted to captain. So tonight we're privileged to take a special edition with 2 of these individuals to be formally Captain Isabel and Davis. Will have their badges pinned by their families. It's a longstanding tradition in the fire service. The pinning represents not just a new title, but an achievement and a transition to greater responsibility. So first up, since Carter just got, we're going to do Lieutenant Davis, and his family is going to be pinning him.
Yeah, don't go straight in on those pins.
All right, and next up we have Captain. Next up we have Captain Josh Isbell. He'll be pinning him. All right, thank you. And I guess we'll give Jeff Hooker his badge too at some point. So
Okay. All right. It's always great to be able to be part of that and witness that promotion. So again, congratulations to you guys. All right. Item number 4. It's always the party favorite when David gets to read a proclamation. Today's proclamation is Arbor Day, April 25th, 2025. I will be reading this, and James, you're gonna, okay. I'll read it from here and then I'll come and hand it to you. So, apologies for the vocabulary, mine's limited, but you are going to see it. So here goes. Whereas from towering pine trees to sprawling oaks and hardy elms, the menagerie of types of trees in Texas are prominent features of our unique landscape. And whereas as Texans, we value our trees and their benefits, clean air, clean water, reducing the erosion of topsoil by wind and water, reducing heating and cooling costs, moderate temperatures, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas Texas first observed Arbor Day in 1889, following in the footsteps of Nebraska in 1872, where they only had one tree, by the way. Anyway, in 1872, when citizens of that state planted 1 million trees and established that a day in April shall be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas the city of Belton's own design standards ensure Belton's heritage trees are protected and new trees are established with new buildings and neighborhoods because of we understand the value of it to our city, the increase in property values, the enhancement of economic vitality, the commitment to environmental stewardship and beautification of our community. And whereas the 19th century American poet Lucy Larcom wrote, "He who plants a tree plants hope, plants joy, he plants peace, he plants youth, he plants love." And whereas the city of Belton encourages the planting of new trees and caring for existing trees in our community, now therefore I, David Lee, Mayor on the behalf of the city of Belton, do proclaim today, well, not today, April 25th, as Arbor Day. There we go. Done.
Good job.
We'll never see this little tree.
That's it.
Got the crew here.
Yeah, and that's.
Thank you, sir.
The support. This year alone, we planted over 15 legacy trees. We continue to find new spaces to just help with creation of green space and just beautifying Belton. Thank you.
Very good.
Great job.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mayor, I also think this is part of the process to get the city of Belton designated as an Arbor Tree USA, Tree City USA on track.
Okay, that's great. I will say a lot of cities, it's Belton is one of those that really does have pretty trees, and it's glad that people believe in that and keep that. Little tidbit, the tradition, or at least wives' tale, and it's probably true. You wait to do a lot of your gardening until after the pecans have their leaves, because you won't ever have any snow after the pecans leaf out. So the pecans still have not leafed out. They're starting though. So anyway, so the spring really starts with pecans. So anyway,
Farmer story or
that's,
wow.
no, yeah, well, farmer story and old wives' tale, I guess they're both related. So yeah, that's so that's the tradition. So all right. On to bigger and bolder things. Our consent agenda items 4 through 8 can be enacted by a single motion by the council if they so choose, or they can remove any of the items that I'm about to read and we can consider them individually. I will read the items. Item 5 is approving the minutes 25th council meeting. Item 6 is approving the resolution authorizing the award of a contract to RM Quality Construction for the construction of one house as part of the home program grant awarded by Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. Item 7 is adopting an ordinance for budget amendment number 1 to the City of Belton fiscal year 2025 annual budget. 8 is authorizing the city manager to enter into professional services agreement with statewide right-of-way services for right-of-way acquisition of 32 parcels pertaining to the South Connell reconstruction project. Those are the items on the consent agenda, and the chair would entertain a motion. Or we could pull one off.
I move we approve items 5 through 8. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve items 5 through 8. Any other discussion before we vote? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, passes 6-0. All right, item 9 is receive an updated presentation and consider authorizing the Building Life Safety Grant Program. Mr. Bob. Yes.
Wow.
I try not to take that personally, you know.
I'll sit here and listen, Bob.
Thank you.
Good one, Dave.
I have that same effect, so it's okay.
Yeah, more than once.
Yeah. Presentation.
Yeah. You have set the standard there with that. Okay, anyway, let's begin. Building life safety grants. We talked about this back in March. And at that particular time, the council asked us to go back and just make some changes based on those conversations. And our recollection is that we wanted to include in addition to non-residential buildings, vertical mixed-use buildings, that kind of thing. That we would exclude new construction and then prepare the application pack as a whole. And I think that's, we'll put that in your packet. So hopefully you've had a chance to see that. So the grant program in summary is basically we provide a $50,000 per project grant, a 50-50 match of the grant for life safety improvements. And as I mentioned, non-residential vertical mixed use buildings existing. And then the geography would be the central downtown street and uptown zones. And we essentially would suggest that we distribute the funds based on a reimbursable basis that holds folks accountable and would allow for many of the same administrative requirements that we have in the FIG grant that we are familiar with over the last couple of years or over the years that the FIG program has been around. For instance, you have to spend the money, or if you awarded a grant, you wouldn't be able to apply for another one for 3 years, that kind of thing. So those are consistent rules that we've had in the past. Continuing on with this, it's intended to interior building life safety improvements, such things as fire suppression, asbestos abatement, lead removal, environmental issues, accessibility issues, things like that. And we would also include things, I think these are written in the staff report in terms of design and construction costs. We would like to provide the funding for a total almost turnkey project. The geography is as shown here. We're suggesting that the uptown, central downtown, and the Main Street areas are included. As you can see, the red is the TERS district, and that provides, currently much of the funding. Of course, as we roll into the next fiscal year, there'll need to be some more discussions about where the money's, not where the money's coming from, but allocating additional funds 26 fiscal year. And that's it, really. We recommend that you approve the proposed building life safety grants. And I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bob. Being a public hearing, this is just for deliberations, easy for me to say. Any comments or questions? Bob?
Thank you for the additional work on it. I think it's good.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
Very
it.
excited about the program and went before several subcommittees, which was beneficial. BEDC is on board. I think it comes on the heels of the facade grant, which has been a very, very successful program for us. So looking forward to it. I move we approve agenda item number 9.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 9. Any other comments?
Just clarification question. This does not include the TERS zone. You have to be in the central downtown or uptown.
Yes, and the Main Street areas, right?
Okay, but not
So if you're outside those areas, then in the TERS, if you're outside the areas, but in the TERS, then the policies say you have to be within that geography unless you decide to expand it from there.
Gotcha.
The main reference to the TERS is that the existing funding that's in the program right now is TERS funding. So if someone comes in with a request right now, it would have to be in the TERS boundary until October, where we would be recommendation our budget for BEDC funding and also additional TERS funding. So
Gotcha.
important.
Yeah, so there's a few areas it appears that would be eligible
taken
for the
out.
grant, would not have ability to have funded currently.
Correct. Yes, sir.
All right, any other comments or questions? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, again, passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Okay, item 10, hold a public hearing and consider an ordinance amending chapter 10, article 3, section 10-48 related to claim of impounded vehicle or other property. Chief Berg.
Mayor, Council, I appreciate the opportunity to present this. The first for this one here specifically is just cleaning up some of the verbiage we already have that's in conflict with the Attorney General's opinion. So in the ordinance, in the record section, what it is we were going to require the impound company to verify they have insurance when this ordinance was put in place. The Attorney General has come out with an opinion saying that because they're not licensed peace officers, that. So the conflict is we just can't allow them to do that. So the solution for that, I think, is just go ahead and strike out that portion. And all they have to do is verify ownership. And I'm open to any questions.
All right. Any questions before?
So they can't drive it.
The record company can't ask to have insurance. All they can do is verify proof of ownership and then release it to them. And what they do from that point is strictly up to them.
Got it. So this isn't them picking up from our impound.
No.
Okay, got it. Okay.
All right. This being a public hearing, we'll close our deliberations. We'll open the floor. If anyone wishes to speak in favor or against this amendment, now's the time to do so. There being no one rushing to talk about this, we'll close the floor and we'll reconvene. The chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to agenda item number 10 is presented.
Second.
A motion and second has been made to not require insurance. I'm sorry, not to ask for insurance. Sorry, did that come out? Anyway, sorry.
Just to follow the law.
Yeah, to follow the law.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Any other comments or questions before we vote? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, all passes 6-0. That's number 11 is hold a public hearing and consider an ordinance amending the code of ordinances by add chapter 14, article 5, sections 14 through 70 through 14 through 80, 14-80, establishing a child safety zone within the city limits of Belton. Again, Chief Byrd.
So council, state law allows us to go ahead and establish a child safety zone. And what that is basically a restriction of 1,000 feet for registered sex offenders to take up residency from the child safety zone. Some examples of a child safety zone would be parks, playgrounds, private and public schools, amusement arcades, bus stops, things like that. Looking at the bus stops though, there was a lot of them. And so we haven't really targeted those as far as because they move, but talking to BISD today, they have a system in place to where they will move their bus stops based on where registered sex offenders are living. So that covers that on that end. Local cities that have it is Killeen, Conference Cove. I did see an article back from 2021 or a news report where Temple was talking about doing it. They still haven't got it across the finish line yet. So this is just something that we think is going to enhance safety for children and really just makes a lot of sense. People that already have residency would be grandfathered in. We're not going to sit there and say people have to move, but the people that it would affect was, 5 in the A district, 27, 26, and we do have one transient that is basically considered homeless. He just couldn't bed down within 1,000 feet of the zones. Other restrictions that are incorporated in that is Halloween night. You can't participate, turn on your porch light, time, entice kids to your residence, which a lot of places have that. And the renting out residencies to somebody that is a registered sex offender, it would be a violation, which would be a city ordinance. Any questions?
Any questions? I think it's a good tool. The question I asked earlier, and I'll ask it publicly, is it grandfathers, right? So there's no requirements to move at this point, but if they do move, they can't move back into the same area.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're working right now. I'm working with GIS to actually do a map that will be an overlay, connect all the dots and stuff, and then we'll look at how that plays out. But everybody's grandfathered in is currently living there.
Okay.
And are churches included in the?
Churches with playgrounds and things like that. Yeah.
Got a public hearing?
Yeah, there is a public hearing. Thank you. Now that we've asked our questions, you get to speak your piece. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor or against this ordinance, and you're brave enough to do so, come on forward. All right. There being nobody speaking for or against this, we will close the floor and reopen the council for a motion.
A motion to approve item as is.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve adding this chapter or this section. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Berg. Item 12, Public hearing, hold a public hearing and consider an ordinance amending chapter 3(1) of the Code of Ordinances that establishes regular for annexation when connecting to city utilities. Mr. Van Til.
Thank you again. This item, it's a very straightforward, simple ordinance, and I hope you all will agree. This ordinance requires property owners, when they want to tie into our water and sewer system, to agree to voluntary annex into the city. That triggers the voluntary annexation process, pretty streamlined, straightforward, things like that. It also deals with municipal utility districts that are proposing to operate or open in our ETJ, not in the city, but in the ETJ. And basically what that says, it formalizes the policy that says you have to come to the table and you will be talking to us about a development agreement or a strategic partnership agreement. It is our practice. Now it will be our policy. We think that's very important for us. Generally speaking, the value of this, what I believe is a very straightforward and simple but powerful ordinance, is that it helps us, kind of puts us back into the driver's seat of the growth management aspect of it. Because as you know, the legislature over the last several sessions has been kind of shifting from what we are accustomed to in annexation, which we need for growth, to more of a voluntary system. And so we have to find ways to trigger that mechanism as opposed to finding it, when we find out. So here, so we have the opportunity to leverage this ability with our utility system. And so to compel the annexation, but it becomes a voluntary annexation at that point. You want the utilities, you volunteer to join us in the city. And of course, the MUDs, in terms of the agreements, those, as you know, are structured slightly differently because they will be more future oriented. When the debt is retired or certain trip points occur, then they'll be also voluntarily added into the city. That may be several, decades from now, or it just kind of depends on how the deal is structured. So our recommendation for this ordinance, as you know, we have to have a public hearing, and I recommend that you approve the ordinance as presented.
All right. Any questions before we have a public hearing? All right. Open the floor for public comments regarding this item on voluntary annexation. Anyone? Anyone? All right. There's been a lot of Bueller stuff since the whole tariff thing. So, and I've been watching all the videos and memes about that. Anyway, Smoot, what's it called? Smoot Hall? What's the
Smooth Holiday.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
it. Yeah. Anyway. So,
Great Depression.
yeah. All right. All right. No comments. We'll reopen the deliberation on this item and comments, questions, or a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this and hope that the legislature does not pass anything that will keep us from moving forward with it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the amendment of chapter 23 regarding annexation when connecting to city utilities. The question I have is, as the state moves more towards general rule from home rule, and we lose ability to enforce certain things in our ETJ, there are some people that have already connected to city utilities. If we have an agreement, let's just say the new MUD that will start constructing homes, do we lose this when someone physically connects their house to us, usually not as part of the MUD developer? Are the legal requirements for them to then subsequently be, it's like, hey, we now have an ordinance. If you connect to utilities, Joe Blow connected to the utility, he wasn't subject to the MUD agreement because he wasn't there, but he did pay his first utility and we didn't make him get annexed. Is he then potentially, is there, the question is, could we create a potential challenge to the group annexation by having and then not enforcing that as they connect to utilities?
I want to say that the shorter answer is no. The more elaborate answer is there is an agreement which covers the, if you're talking about river farms.
Yeah.
That agreement covers all the, the current phases and subsequent phases. And so that's, that's considered, within that agreement in terms of, managing how many homes get built, the debt they issue in order to build the infrastructure and all this kind of stuff. So it's baked into that agreement that folks that'll be moving out there will tie in. Eventually, the whole area will be annexed into the city. 30 years from now or 25, something like that.
Farms, it's a date certain. If you're talking about something outside of farms, an individual lot.
Yeah, mainly river farms. What I'm thinking about is because we have the now refresh my memory. So when Joe Blow buys the house, he has to sign something,
Yes.
right?
And essentially, in advance, the developer has agreed to the strategic partnership agreement, which they will become part of the city limits after 30. It's a date certain, 30 years, I believe, not like Three Creeks, which every bond issue extends that time period out. And so it's a date certain. So that's a pretty powerful tool, the strategic partnership agreement. And so as owners buy homes there, they're subject to that agreement.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And so a new out of mud would be required to go through our process to have access to our water and sewer.
They would, absolutely. They would have to evaluate, we'd have to evaluate the utilities, determine not, and out of city mud is going to be allowed, or whether we would require annexation and perhaps consider it as an in-city mud or just a standard development.
All right. Any other comments or questions? All right. Chair would entertain a motion. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you already had a motion. Let's see. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Sorry.
Thank you.
Item 13, receive a report on the Main Street traffic study and the River Fair traffic impact analysis.
Mayor, Council, I appreciate the chance to present this to you. We're making pretty good pace tonight, so I'm not going to try to slow us down. We've got an audience that I think is familiar with the studies, and we circulated that memo in advance. So I'm going to move through these, but this is meant to be interactive. I want you, if you get questions, we do also have we have the engineer who has done some work. You'll see some roundabouts here soon. At 2nd and 6th, the gentleman who's done that work is on the call, joining us virtually with Lee Engineering. I'm going to start first with River Fair. I think we'll just kind of tackle this TIA. Remember, there was two. There was one, which was the Main Street, which we really south this Main Street corridor downtown. And then we did a River Fair Boulevard. This started when McDonald's and Panda Express were ready to come in. That was a requirement for them to do a TIA. They've done a TIA, which they would have been within their right to do. That was just within their kind of radius. We capitalized on that, thinking we actually really need to study the area as a whole. And so we split it into thirds. Cost, I think, was a great partnership with Barge and the team. And so that was kind of our opportunity to look at this, because everyone is aware with this River Fair, especially I think as Starbucks has gone, as that whole area is developed, it's a tricky area to try and specifically left turning moves. So we are going to kind of cover this, right? So watch out now. Matt got the drone out, and we're going to kind of
This is recent.
This is recent. This is 8 a.m. as of Friday. Okay.
Yeah.
See, Starbucks is completely packed. You can see it's kind of the lines wrapped around, and you're going to start to see how these turns start to work.
Right.
No, you're not going to see a wreck. You may see some traffic violations, but we blurred the license plates out. So they may not have insurance. I don't know.
Is that Sam Listy with the middle finger right there?
So you'll see, if you're watching right now, I'm kind of watching this white car. He's kind of stuck there this is kind of the issue, right? He obviously wants to get across, or he wants to turn left. And one of the things we don't like are what's called two-stage turning movements. And get ready to see one. So edge across, and he's going to wait for that truck to go. And that is not that great. Okay, that's definitely the dangerous element of it. I'm going to this drone kind of keeps going on, but basically you'll see that's kind of how it rolls out. There's many more minutes of this footage, but we're going to move on for time's sake. There has been 32 crashes since 2019 at this general location. Chief was able to kind of run a report for me, and I appreciate that. So it maybe not necessarily it's just in that kind of vicinity. but 15 resulting injuries, 65 units involved, and 96 people involved in that. So I think I broke down the summary as River Fair TIA really boiled down to when can we get a traffic light there at Starbucks at River Fair. I think that was really the leading. I think the barge team, the developments around there would like to see a traffic signal. I think community-wise would like to maybe see a traffic signal. First issue that we ran into, we've kind of floated it gently to TxDOT. This is their roadway. But we were telling them we've had some issues there. The thing immediately off the bat is that this is very close in TxDOT terms to another signalized intersection. They like to see 1,400 feet in distance between. It's a kind of a standard. There are always exceptions to that rule, but 1,400, anything below that needs to be kind of justified through a signal warrant. The example that I can best tell you that y'all will probably know is if you go towards the mall and you exit the HK Dodge and, you know, kind of jump off there, right there, the Taco Bell, and then you go down to the Today's Car Wash. That's 500 feet. I mean, that's closer than this. So we have local examples of places that are this. So I think TxDOT was aware of that. Their answer wasn't a kind of a no. Like I said, it was a more of a not yet. Let's see what kind of develops. So the study kind of went through. I think what really bore out of that, there was some short-term recommendations. But really at the crux of it, there is not enough traffic throughout the majority at this intersection for TxDOT to consider this being a signal and because really we need their approval. We likely, I think I've shared this, we would likely have to pay for such a signal if we wanted to install it, and which we may be ready to as a community interest to put one in. But first, we really need TxDOT on board with this. And this study didn't produce the numbers yet that we kind of needed to do that. But we have a kind of a plan on that. It did have some short term. It studied all the way out to Lake Road, Loop 121. There's got some adjust some signaling, some left turns. I think I've talked to a few folks that are in. I mean, this intersection I think has gotten worse since it widened. The roads got great, but this intersection is. They're out there. If you guys remember every phase of Loop 121, it felt like it took 2 or 3 months to get the signals kind of in, and we would take any complaint that came in, we would forward that in relationship. Scott and the local office would get out there, and I've seen the crews out there working those. I'm not quite seeing the improvement in the timing. It's very long wait time there. Another option was to put an additional left turn lane. So this is northbound. You're coming out of HEB, you know, you're coming up, you see the Encore power grid down here. An additional left turn for additional volume. And then right here at River Fair, another recommendation was to turn the shoulder into a dedicated right turn, which technically that's what they're doing anyway. But you know, you'll kind of be able to go from there. One of the things that I want to kind of explain real quick, and this is from TxDOT, and this is what they're going to say, is you're going to see Panda and McDonald's come up here, okay? And I believe that that's going to bring more traffic, just is. And so you've got all the development there. They are going to suggest to anybody who would complain so that it's not, they say, you guys need to come out of here to this intersection right here. And we want you to come down here and U-turn if you want to go this way. Don't try and come this way and turn. Because they said their safety studies suggest that U-turns are far safer than unprotected left turns. So that's just something that's going to short term of what they're asking. I do think that before Matt's opinion here, but before we have a signal light, they probably will there'll be pressure to make River Fair a right turn only. So and we may want to consider that ourselves. I'm not sure. Sometimes when you take away a turning movement, you're kind of hard, but I think if we really see that development and that traffic takeoff, we may want to consider that. We've had similar examples with some private businesses in that Growthway Square area where we just try to take some of these driveways and it's safe. We had the car wash, remember that behind Take 5 that just came through. This happens all up and down Main Street, and I think that we may get to the point eventually where we go right turn here, and we're prepared. And that's a city decision. We own that roadway. So go ahead, yes sir.
But if you did that, wouldn't you want to put a median there?
Yeah,
I
yes.
mean, really, where people aren't shooting across, say right turn only.
Yeah, and they're just gonna go,
Going to be backed up. for them to do.
yeah. So something that would kind of demarcation
Yeah.
right there. So
Would that prevent someone from turning left off of 317 to get on River Fair?
no, you know, you could, if you were going northbound, you could still
Well,
go
you could
left.
do a-
Yeah, that turning movement is just a dual lane cross. It's the one that we saw with that white car where it's 4 lanes and you're trying to get across, and especially unprotected 2-stage turning movement. You're jetting out and it's just
The way they do it is
so
these offset curves
Yeah.
where you can kind of, they
You
can't.
can still go in, but they can't come
Yeah.
in. Yeah.
so I think anyway, that's kind of the River Fair recommendations. So what does that mean? Things that I've proposed, because it's important that study's being done. I've talked to Scott, I've talked to our planning team. This doesn't go onto a shelf and collect dust, right? This needs to, because we know, we all are aware that the issue is more serious than maybe it's reflected in the report, if that's a fair way of saying. I'm not saying the report's inaccurate. And we understand that issue. I've heard many people in the community complain about that. So what I would like to suggest is once McDonald's and Panda open, which probably could be the end of this year, and the cottages develops out, and then we're gonna have River Place on the heels of that. We're gonna have some serious development happening along that River Fair Boulevard, but we're gonna know at some point there's a time to go strike, and at that point we'll go do another signal warrant. So it's not a TIA. We'll actually go hire a company to count all the turning movement, cheaper than a TIA, but it's still a cost. Hoping that we can. TxDOT's kind of sitting there like, you show us the need and we'll evaluate it, right? And I think that's been an honest conversation right now. They don't see the merit, but they'll hear us out if that's the case. So that's fair. TIA. Anything? I'll have a whole lot more to add. Any questions on that before I move on to Main Street? Go ahead.
Appreciate the report. I'm disappointed just, and the speed coming in toward town there makes it a major concern for me. We have to cross it frequently, and that situation you had where one car was trying to do that.
Yeah.
Often it's 2 or more cars trying to do that.
Yeah.
And I understand their traffic count, but I'm concerned about the speed and the people taking really risky behaviors to get across that
Yeah.
situation.
And we're going to share the crash data. I think sometimes TxDOT collects fatality data, and while there may not be fatalities, one doesn't mean that there may not one day, and B, we have a lot of crash data in that area that is suggesting that maybe it's not super dangerous. Yeah, I don't want to maybe couch my words there, but you know what I mean, in the sense of, but there's enough accidents occurring that there's something wrong with that intersection, and so.
Did they discuss the speed?
No,
Speed
sir.
reduction?
No speed test.
Okay.
But that certainly could be enough. I think that what will happen, my gut, that TxDOT was open to receiving for us working through any other option that wasn't putting a light there, right? Like, so we're going to have to exhaust all those options, which could be, Wayne, hey, we're ready to speed. This is getting too dangerous, especially this southbound. We're going to start pulling down. And then we're gonna do right turn only out of River Fair, and we're gonna put a median in the middle, all that kind of stuff. We may have to go that route, but it is our commitment to you all as a council and to our community that from public works standpoint, we're gonna stay on this, that it kind of is routinely evaluated over the several years out.
So I know that you're going to talk about this later. Why wouldn't you do a roundabout there? Because if you did a roundabout, it's the same as a U-turn, right? It's just, you
Sure.
can keep U-turning infinitely, right? But
Yeah.
just, that one,
I think a roundabout could really work. I think that has some merit. There's even some configurations of roundabouts that aren't round as much as they, the dog bone types, and there's some stuff that they can do that helps. So I think that if that may be part of our repertoire as well, as we go back out and John, who's on the call, and we go out to someone like John, who's an expert in this stuff, and say, hey, that wasn't something we added to the study. Similar to what we did we did the study, told us you probably really need to consider doing some roundabouts. And then before bringing it out to tell you the obvious, we just went ahead and did the roundabout study to bring that. So this may be a two-parter. So we'll follow up on that as well. Okay, we're going to move on to Main Street. This is not going to break any news here about Main Street. I will point out, I do appreciate Dr. Theodorf with UMHB being here. He's been a huge partner throughout this process. We've kind of met out there and kind of explained the issues, and I appreciate him coming along to support. And like I said, once we get to the roundabout portion, we're going to have John. You won't be able to see him, but you'll be able to hear him from that. So again, this is 5 p.m. And in Belton, pick your day, but it's kind of this backup traffic situation. Again, I think you all know the scope. We start to really focus in. If you read that Main Street summary, the issue really highlights itself between 2nd and 6th. And I know, but really that was helpful for us because Central Avenue was fine, Avenue D was fine. Some of these areas, the intersections that were further down were fine in terms of fine when I say by a level of service that they weren't projecting any improvements, but really the 2nd Avenue. This is the view from 2nd Avenue, and this is something that we've all experienced this. And so you feel like you got a pretty good gap. Traffic up here, you can see it's starting to move northbound. And here, these cars are turning left up there. And we're thinking, oh gosh. And you can see the lights probably turning orange now. And this guy's like, oh, I gotta go. And they start creeping out in the middle of the lane, right? And that blue car was in the back of it, but he darted over. And so anyway, this is stuff you see routinely at 2nd with it. I'm gonna run through the Main Street recommendations, and then we're gonna talk about roundabouts. Okay, so Main Street offered there was a few things that they initially recommended in the short term. One was to try and get a bypass lane here at northbound 6th Avenue. So using some of what would be Ace Hardware's parking lot, create more of a dual lane. Again, you'll know this, but it's a capacity issue. As you should really widen it to 4 lanes. I know. I mean, like that would be brilliant, but we know we can't do that with all the historic homes and the property up there. So this was a bypass right here. The other one that I'm optimistic by nature, but I'm really optimistic about this. They haven't adjusted the signals in over 10 years, the timing. And think about how different we were in 2015. I mean, it feels like a different time. So one of the things that we will be taking, probably my leading recommendation is after this, to go visit with our TxDOT team. And I would like to encourage them to work with our engineering team, set the signals the way that they believe they need to be set, because our folks are looking at it from what we experience as a community, not from a system or they may say you can do that. I can hear TxDOT saying you can do that if you pay for it, and we may have to pay for it, but at least we're addressing we're trying. I think what we want to do with this report was find any way that we could to improve the situation and not just throw our hands up and go, well, yeah, we know it's bad. Interesting one was to possibly add an additional lane going northbound. We talked. This is over the viaduct. We've talked a lot, but as you get close to that part of Main Street, you feel that that relief, like, oh, the road finally opens up, and it's just as quick as we can to try and get to that relief. So that's an option. There is width enough to do 2 northbound lanes without removing the sidewalk. You may have to do some median work. That might be a medium priority. I would say short term, signals first, and let's kind of go that route. And then obviously the main thing that the study came back and said, hey, 2nd Avenue and 6th Avenue, they need to kind of have a look at this. So I'm always reminded about Dave's story about his brother first time he drove around Smarter Roundabout on that. But so it was sorry, Dave. It was a big bump out there, something like that, right? So I'm gonna show. So we kind of came and John's on the call here, so I do hope if there's some technical stuff you want, John will be able to give you. He's going to explain a couple things here. The approach to this is twofold: is to study 2nd Avenue and 6th Avenue. It wasn't just draw roundabouts. We'll take that forward. I didn't know if roundabouts would actually help. Me or Sam, we were kind of talking. Does it help? And so that was the basis. And so they started to really run it, and it was clear that the roundabouts would work. The problem is much of up and down Main Street, if you do one thing at one place, it improves that one spot, but it has a domino effect somewhere
And then you just back up at Main.
Exactly.
Or I mean at Sixth.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what we realized is when we talk about this, one of the first things I would point out, it has to be both. If we go around about it, it really would lose the impact if you do two. It really kind of needs to be.
Well, at MLK, UMHB could put a really big sign out there because it's going to be back there at MLK.
Yeah, there we
MLK.
go. There
And people park for
be,
a long
be
time.
ready.
Little advertising.
Free advertising. So this is Second Avenue. Again, these are conceptual by nature. So we're not trying to scare anybody from public wise, but also it's reality of right of way that's needed. So this is what it looks like in some configuration at Second Avenue. You can see there's some right of way impacts to all four corners, really. And so we'll be aware. That is what we would call a 4-leg single lane roundabout. Okay, there's no additional bypasses. We're going to talk about all this stuff, but that's your traditional roundabout with it.
That's 18-wheeler? It's 18-wheeler?
Yes, sir.
Can you describe I think I can assume, but like what the green or
Yes, I believe the green is sidewalk because the orange is a buffer for the pedestrians is how I understand it. It may be the orange is the sidewalk and the green is
Looks like
the
orange is sidewalk.
green is right away.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oranges. Sidewalk.
John, you can hear us. Am I right on that?
The orange was sidewalk. The green is generally grass or buffer over to the right of way. At the scale the concept's printed at, you can't really see it, but there is actually a small grass buffer between the back of curb and the large sidewalks. But the sidewalks are orange.
Yeah.
And then the light blue is in the center. That's truck apron. It would be intended for the 18-wheeler to track their rear axles across it. It'd be designed for that specifically. And then the other light blue areas are raised islands.
Awesome. Any questions at Second Avenue before we move on to the main character here at the state? Okay, so we're going to head to Sixth Avenue. Sixth Avenue has there's a lot of options, is what I'll say. I'll call it options. And I appreciate Steve being here. With the acquisition of First Baptist Church, the college has, the UMHB owns so much of what fronts Main Street. And they have a huge impact, good or bad, whatever they decide to do at any location. So we've given, like, hey, listen, as close as we can be without being in the nitty gritty of what your conversations are. So we asked a lot, hey, church plans, and Steve's been very upfront and candid throughout that there are no plans, that there's nothing planned right now. And I do think that matters for the conversation, right? Because it really matters. What's a three-leg roundabout, which is what you're looking at here. Now, this is the three-leg roundabout. That's the ultimate condition, they would call it, the best level of service. Okay. You can see that you have a bypass lane alongside here. So there's 2 lanes coming. Okay. You have your little turn lane over here, the little, and then also the same wise here, you're able to bypass that traffic. So you actually have multiple legs into each one that bypass the traffic. So that's critical. This chart, this is where the answer lies, okay? And I'm going to draw you down to essentially what John did is he studied every single option that there was of different, depending on right-of-way needs. And this might be where we end up going, right, is we got this right away, but we don't have this right away yet, or we don't. And so what John's given us is multiple different options of configuration. What we are looking at on that screen is this one. It has everything in there for the maximum level of service, okay? So that is your highest rated, best rated. We want to fix Main Street as best as we can. It would be that configuration. So what happens if you add a 4th lane? Right? That's going to be a huge planning question and something that we want to be hand in hand on with UMHB. Okay. Because here's the 4th lane. And we're going to show it here in a second, but you can see it's a little better than what we have, up here, but it's not as good as this, right? So you do lose a bit of a level of service. Your level of service drops if you add a 4th leg. And so I'm going to show you fourth leg up, this would be if UMHB were to do something with the church that essentially involved a street going through the middle of it. This is kind of how that might look. It does shift the right of way slightly away from where we were creeping more easterly before, and now heading west. But this is a 4-lane. This is the 4-lane configuration. Still has bypasses that I'm talking about, but what tends to happen is you're going to have a dominant flow of traffic, which the report says, and John correct, is the southbound traffic is going to be higher than northbound, which even surprised me, but I think we see some of the stacking occur at 2nd and 6th. It's not actually reflective of how much traffic is coming southbound. And what's going to happen is these folks in southbound are just going to be peppering that outer lane, and the folks coming, let's say, out of campus would be struggling to kind of get in and make that turn. And if they do, and they're going back around, it, there's just impacts to every which way that you have. So I think that is about what I want to show between the 3-leg and the 4-leg. We know that TxDOT is expressed that they are open, if not, I think, on board with planning roundabouts in these areas. They do not have, I think, our level of schematic that John will work with them on. I think they've been shared, but in terms of us ensuring that our level of service that we're hoping for, we would want to make sure. So I think that they're on board planning. There are no plans. FM 93, as you're aware, kind of got bumped with some of the funding that's 2nd Avenue. And then also 6th Avenue is due for a full reconstruction on 2027. It would be awesome to do this with it, but I would hate to push up that project back because we're waiting on. I think as you can see, there's serious property impacts, I'll call it, to any of the configurations, but certainly here at 6th. And again, as we march through, Steve will hear from me every 6 months to catch up. Hey, have you got any plans? Because that's going to change things. If they do, and that we can start to incorporate them early on, rather than being reactive and committing to 3 when we really could have been planning for 4 and an alternate layout. So that's that. There's 3 partners at play. UMHB, again, Steve, appreciate you being here. Blackburn's been a great partner. He's been involved as we've kind of walked through it. TxDOT, these are TxDOT roads, and they have been open and listening to us. I think we've got a good relationship with the local office, but obviously, it'll just be trying to make our priority their priority with them. So that is my presentation on signal timing, or not signal timing, traffic studies, which involves some signal timing. So.
All right. This is for you guys. It's a report and time for comments and questions. There is no action required and no public hearing. So any comments or questions for Matt?
I just say thank you. It's exciting to see some really discussion with legs and meat on it to move forward to try and solve a very complicated issue. And it'll be good for our community to see that work.
I do think
as well.
I appreciate that, Stephanie. I do think we're further along. We have a better understanding than we did a year and a half ago when we kind of started the study process. So
Absolutely.
It has been valuable. It didn't produce that speedy bullet, but it produced answers and context that I think we were better off in knowing.
So right-of-way acquisition, so
Yep.
it does impact, it looks like the 2nd is less of an impact. It doesn't look like you or any businesses with that one, but
Right.
you would definitely impact the station that's pumping gas. You
Yes, sir.
probably have to, so that's probably, who pays for that type of stuff? Like when we start looking at cost share, relocation of utilities, construction, right-of-way.
Go ahead.
To the
Traditionally.
extent it's a TxDOT project,
Mhm.
TxDOT would handle the right of way. And that's been the conversation we've had so far, that as they're doing 2nd Avenue, which is 93, that's an active project. And so they're already working on that. They certainly recognize the traffic studies demonstrate that you really need to do both of them. And so they're already, 6th Avenue is a active project. It's a major maintenance project. But again, both are in dialogue, but no commitments today at this point in time, exactly how that would work or timing of that. But again, if it's a TxDOT project, they would secure the right of way.
Okay.
We may have a, percentage share. Another important idea here is if we can get to a project identification, we could add these to K-Tempo, and then they'd be in the list basically, and again, come up for funding. But there's certainly some potential they might happen sooner than that. What was one of the most exciting things about it is TxDOT's receptivity to roundabout TxDOT routes. That was a surprise when we had our early meetings with them, but they have their experts that are TxDOT focused, and you see as you're driving
We've had a
around.
few retirements and a few young people join.
You see them as you drive around town, that the number of FM roads and others already have roundabouts on them. So they are receptive. They recognize that signals are not the answer everywhere.
Well, it's cheaper to maintain, and if you do have an accident, it's rarely fatal.
They were so excited they put a roundabout on Loop 121, and we were like, okay, all right, guys, that might be a little too much, but we're still open to that. I think so. That'd be great.
Man, I hope there is some input on the light timing, light
Yes,
timing.
yes, sir. Yep.
There's some big issues there. It seems a couple of lights, nobody moves. We're all looking at each other, thinking, okay, who's supposed to be going?
I use the other roads to bypass that intersection. I rarely will go.
Yeah.
I'll take second, zigzag, get back on the second, and keep going.
And everybody stay calm, but I don't know if there's any talk or consideration about one way. I'm ready for one way. I don't know how to get out, but I know how to get in. Or 2 in, 1 out, 2 out, 1. We have room for 3 lanes, don't we?
Yes, we talked about, we threw everything. That was initially where we were going. We thought we were really, I was pushing 2 lanes going southbound and cutting off any turning movement to anything on the left, but just 2, because it's all about capacity. It's all about kind of loading up. It didn't really, that was one of the interim solutions that had a domino effect somewhere else. Like it bounced down. So we'll do that. I will give a plug. I mean, 20 years on, and the engineer says, have y'all thought about maybe going one way on Penelope? And so vindication for Sam here, being 20 years on, but we were like, no, we'll leave that alone.
We've never considered.
He's like, you got this great north-south street, you should totally use it. So
Considering it using, that's
yeah.
for sure.
So, but yeah, no, John, I think that stuff's on the table.
It's true. I won't.
Yeah, I
Oh,
did.
yeah.
It'll leave a mark.
Thank you.
That's a good report. I'm really encouraged that TxDOT has sort of gotten into the 21st century on some of the roundabout issues, because I think they're great.
Yeah.
Speed up and reduce accidents. And as David said, the accidents are usually less in that situation, given the way that they're designed. So keep it up.
I will say if this were to be done with all the other effort that we've been putting into downtown Belton, this is an economic development tool. It's not just allowing people to move through quicker. It's unique. It's part of the character who we are. It's really thing that I think is an economic development tool. So anyway, kudos to the team.
Yeah, I'd say adding roundabouts versus extra lanes, more lights preserves small town feel.
You want to just keep moving, and even if that's slower pace, you're still
you're moving.
You're moving.
My question is, when you say if it's one, it's both. Are you talking about, is that simultaneous construction?
It may not have to be simultaneous, but it loses its impact if you don't do both. If you don't really make a commitment to try to get to both, it may mean that one, and plus if TxDOT's doing it, I'm not sure that we're going to be, too upset that they're going to do it. And then, but hopefully as long as we keep this project on the burn. So.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Item 14, consider an ordinance authorizing the issuance of City of Belton, Texas combination tax and limited revenue certificates of obligation series 2025. Mr. Rogers.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You might have heard that financial markets are in a bit of turmoil.
Come on.
Treasuries came down.
Today.
Days ago.
So we're here tonight. We had on the agenda to possibly sell bonds, adopt an ordinance to authorize the issuance of certificates of obligation for 2025. to give you some update of the happenings over the last, well, 24 hours, essentially. Late yesterday, post 3 o'clock, our financial advisor sends me an email with the quote, "It's a bloodbath in the muni market today." And if your financial advisor tells you that, that should make your ears go like this.
Do not enter.
Do not enter. Yes, exactly. In fact, yesterday, you know, the interest rates in the muni market increased 36 basis points, I believe was the number in one day. I mean, that's a third of 1% essentially in just one day. So started expressing some caution of us hitting the market today. So what we did was we scheduled a call with our financial advisor this morning. We were supposed to issue at 10:30 today. Mayor Pro Tem Holmes and city manager and I, we all participated in a phone call with our financial advisor. And so we had the kind of two options. We could wait until 10:30, receive the bids from the boss, look at what those are, and then bring them to you tonight. And then just, if they're too high, just decline them, just reject all bids. Option two, which is what advisor kind of recommended, was, well, let's just call it off for now. Delay today's sale, postpone is what we're going to talk about in a bit. Today's sale because of the volatility. So our concern is that our bond buyers would build a lot of fluff, if you will, in their interest rates, offer higher rates because just they don't know where the market's headed with all of the uncertainty. And so that's the option that they recommend. So just to give you an idea, Harker Heights also issued today. Their spread was from 4.1 to 4.8. I mean, and that's a spread in people trying to buy the same bonds. I mean, you know, that's a why. So that shows you the volatility that's what's happening today. So instead of approving an ordinance, instead of adopting an ordinance approving the sale, tonight what I'm asking you to do is make a motion to a resolution that delays the action on that ordinance until April 22nd at 5:30. I mean, that's our next regular scheduled council meeting. So that buys us 2 weeks to kind of let things settle down. Let's see what the market's going to do. What we can do is if on April the 22nd, it still looks, you know, weird, and there's some big plots that are hitting the market that are on that night. So we can again delay on the 22nd if we need to another meeting, maybe even a special council meeting to authorize the issuance of those bonds. And we have 90 days from today to take action on that ordinance without really reposting starting the whole process over. So we're okay with this resolution, and I would recommend adoption of that resolution delaying action on the ordinance to issue certificates of obligation. Be happy to answer any questions.
What happens if in the next 2 weeks she calls you in the morning and says, "Hey, we need to go to market today"? Like, is that a possibility?
We can. So I think, and there's bond counsel folks here. Please, okay.
Oh,
This is Clayton. Is that correct?
Chandler with, I'm a partner of Richard Donahue.
Yes.
You're a normal representative of our firm. And do you want me to jump in on?
Please do.
So
You're smarter than I am.
To jump in on a day certain could be challenging because of Open Meetings Act posting requirements.
Yeah, we gotta approve.
yeah. That was the question.
Yeah. So using these delay resolutions, so as of now, we're basically delaying the process until the 22nd, right, Mike? And if it's Mike, if for some reason, if that date does not work, we could at that meeting adopt another delay resolution to a more specific date, as Mike mentioned, you know, the financial advisor thinks that, yeah, the 22nd may not be great, but 3 days later, we think, you know, would be an opportune time in the market. We could look at, you know, noticing a special meeting and adopt a delay resolution for, you know, 3 days after the 22nd.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
you could do it, maybe this is the exact day, but you need, you know, 3 to 4 days, enough time to post in compliance with your open meetings laws. And you have to do it at a date set forth in the delay resolution. If that makes sense. It's a little bit confusing, but this is a process, it's a kind of a testing process. That's been blessed by the general rules on the best review and approval. Debt issuance and binding for subdivisions that tax. This delay process is a sort of safe harbor within AG protocol that would allow the council to, as Mike said, delay the process without having to restart the entire CO issue.
Thank you. Please stand right there.
So you used a fancy word, resolution. And typically we have a resolution that's printed out, written out, and then it's signed. Do we actually have a resolution?
He has it in his hands.
Do you mind allowing us to see that resolution before we adopt a resolution
That might be a good idea.
yeah. Other than that, I would be more comfortable just taking action, not adopting a resolution. But if you got a delaying resolution.
Action on
What we
something
really-
tonight.
What we really did was gave us the 2 months, April, May. And on the call, great call this morning. I called our municipal bond desk first thing this morning. That guy was out of breath. Said, yeah, there's at least a 35 pip increase in union rates. And in addition to that, the real key to that is bidders looking to add a 1/4 point to that just to be covered.
Yes. Sample.
So that's a big jump.
The one to be signed.
I'll start with the mayor's. Your city manager's also decided on that's been tabbed for correction, and it's a resolution. Resolution on the ordinance that was originally planned or scheduled.
Correct. Yeah.
We went several dates and talked about possibly calling a special meeting if we needed to. The April date worked, and knowing that we could delay that out to May if rates had not come back down. And so feel very strongly that the best time from a debt issuer, not to issue new debt is in a market of panic. It sure just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And so to buy a little time, make a little delay, and the broad range of bids from the Harker Heights issuance of 4.1 to 4.8 was pretty drastic. And I think 6 to 7 bidders on that.
Yeah.
There's
So-
a much
and just-
smaller issue too.
Yeah, only 4 million.
Right.
And so and please step in, Clayton. So the action, the item that's posted tonight is authorization of the ordinance, to consider the authorization of an ordinance to issue bonds. Talking to bond counsel, even though, so the action that we're taking tonight on that ordinance is simply delaying it by documenting it through this
Yep.
resolution.
Yep.
It's just, for the sake of the Attorney General who likes documentation, your action tonight is delaying the authorization of that, or that ordinance, if you will. Make sure I use the right terms here, until a date certain, which is April 22nd.
Clayton, what I'm concerned with is we don't have anything posted for a resolution. We have action on this ordinance. I'm sure there's a way to walk through it, but you need to walk through whatever motion they make. It's gonna be okay with our agenda.
So I wrote down, I was thinking the same thing, and it also says tentatively proposed, and we don't tentatively propose when we vote. It's not right. So I'm with John. So I wrote down a motion that I think would do this, is that the chair would entertain a motion to take delaying action on the issuance of the combined tax and limited revenue certificates of obligation series 2025 to the April 22nd meeting. So it was delaying action to that meeting for this bond, And then now, and that wouldn't be the resolution.
With approval of the
And that-
resolution. I think the resolution is what maintains our notification process for this meeting. It just moves all that forward.
But what John just,
It hadn't been posted.
If I take a quick look at that.
oh, it's in David's scratch. What my little, oh, you're talking about this? Oh, yeah.
That's okay, we can sign another.
It's under whereas about today's meeting.
Second paragraph.
Second paragraph. Basically, this meeting is the city council authorized the issuance.
I think that second is getting at is that, we had noticed an intent, and the notice of intent publication was an intent to issue.
Okay, so that,
On today's date, and I think that resolution is just describing that the council tentatively proposed to authorize the issuance of the certificates at this April 8th meeting.
okay,
And I think that the tentative is just to indicate that we do not, consistent with this resolution, we're not bound to necessarily take,
okay,
to approve the certificates. It's that we have the ability to adopt this resolution to delay the action.
Okay.
I think is what was intended by the tentative.
okay.
If we had bids today and we rejected all of them, is the process start over? Or is there action in that allows you to do another market?
So that's a good question. I think, if bids had been taken and were rejected, I don't think there's anything that would preclude you from rejecting all of them and then also adopting this delay resolution. I think probably the concern, Mr. Holmes and staff can speak to this more with, the financial advisor would be that if taking, having bidders going out and actually submitting bids, and then with a strong likelihood of thinking that you would be advising your council not to accept any of them, could damage
Well,
the city's reputation in the market.
You lose interest in future.
I was just saying the process, essentially doing this, rejecting all bids, we're at the same spot. We don't have a bond package to approve. So is a safer bet tonight to say, being there's no bids, or is there a way to do it without introducing something that's not on our agenda?
So that's a fair question. I remember, and city attorneys raised a fair question. Richard and I in our office discussed this in considerable depth. We're comfortable that there's not an open meetings concern here, because this resolution is with respect to specifically on this ordinance. And instead of, I mean, one option, but the reason this option that I'm about to describe this, it's not really, really would not work is because the Attorney General's Mike, the city manager, we'll see document paper. So, while I understand, I think that the question is, we have a delay resolution now that's being considered, our open meetings posting, our agenda just describes this ordinance. We feel comfortable that under these circumstances and based on Attorney General guidance, that this is an appropriate way to conduct action and would not be violating
In reading the resolution, it does, instead of just delaying, one of the key things that I can see is that it allows the city clerk to post the intention to issue the certificates prior to that time. So it allows to act quicker, that appears, by allowing for some of that in the wording of the resolution. I mean, I'm comfortable with it. I just wanted to see the resolution and we can look at the resolution.
Yeah,
I'm comfortable that it's under
action. So another alternative, and again, it's not recommended, would be similar to what you were just saying. You could say that you're delaying the action on the ordinance and then just let the minutes be the record. But what the resolution really is intended to do is really more formally document the fact
Yeah.
that
And the-
you
and
are
the
taking that
details.
action
Yeah.
tonight. And then that will go in the file with,
Yeah.
with the rest of the bond documents.
That's right. My concern is that the formal resolution is not adopted this evening, that we may have questions, from the Attorney General, when we, show that the bonds were actually, let's assume that we move forward with a pricing and a sale on the 22nd. The Attorney General is going to want us to document connecting the dots from the initially planned sale date of today and then the April 22nd date where they're actually priced. It's not uncommon, these delay resolutions, this is not I don't want to say it's super common, but this is a vetted process with the Attorney General's blessing.
It's not something you invented this afternoon.
This is not
In the best interest of the taxpayer.
Yeah.
Right, let's do, that needs to be done.
And the nature of this, of the entire transaction, the transaction would not occur. I mean, does not really legally occur until 10:30 this morning. So there, you couldn't have an advance resolution handy, not having a clue into what the bids are even until 10:30 this morning.
Yes.
Since the resolution is not part of the posted agenda, do we need to read that into the?
Yeah,
motion?
yeah, if you want to make a motion, I would read that
Read the whole thing.
hold that title, yep, adopt the. Yes.
Time to
Yeah.
say something.
I think-
Present.
I think this is.
I'm gonna make a motion.
I have no problem with going forward. I just think you need to act on the ordinance and then just the council say they're resolved and then say what's in the resolution.
That we're acting on the ordinance to delay action. The action on the ordinance is the posted ordinance.
Part of that delay, we resolve whatever you say in the resolution.
I think that's.
So
That's excellent. I agree with that. Let's make sure you're recording the devices.
Yes.
Yeah, so the first four words are. Yeah, so the motion would be a motion to delay the ordinance authorizing the issuance of the bonds. And in place, adopting a resolution.
Yeah, say that date, April
Okay,
22nd.
that was a lot of input. All right, and considering agenda item 14, the ordinance authorizing the issuance of bonds. Move that we adopt a resolution delaying action on an ordinance authorizing the issuance of the city of Belton, Texas, combination tax and limited revenue certificates of obligation, amount not to exceed $17.7 million and other matters related thereto. Whereas on February 11th, 2025, the City Council of the City of Belton, Texas, the city passed a resolution authorizing the publication of a notice of intention, notice resolution to issue the City of Belton, Texas, combination tax and limited revenue certificates of obligation in a maximum principal amount not to exceed $17.7 million, the certificates. And whereas the notice resolution stated that the City Council tentatively proposed to authorize the issuance of the certificates at its regular meeting of the City Council to commence at 5:30 p.m. on April 8th, 2025. Whereas upon the advice of the city's financial advisor, the city found it necessary to delay action on the ordinance authorizing the issuance of the certificates until a regular meeting of the City Council to commence at 5:30 p.m. on April 22nd, 2025. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Belton, Texas, that Section 1, delaying action, the city hereby delays action on the ordinance authorizing the issuance of the certificates until a regular meeting of the City Council to commence at 5:30 p.m. on April 22nd, 2025. Its regular meeting place at the Harris Community Center in the right room located at 401 North Alexander, Texas, 76513. Section 2, notice of intention. The city clerk is authorized to update any posted notice of intention to issue the certificates with additional language reflecting the new meeting date at which the City Council will consider authorizing the issuance of the certificates. Section 3, other matters. This resolution shall become effective immediately upon adoption. The mayor and city clerk are authorized and directed to execute the certificate to which this resolution is attached on behalf of the city, and to do any and all things proper and necessary to carry out the intent of this resolution. That's my motion.
Can you reread the motion?
Can you?
Yeah.
Lane 6.
All right. We have a motion, Wayne seconds. Any other discussion?
None from me.
Just set a record for the longest motion in history.
Thank you.
Wayne seconded.
All right, thank you.
I'm
All
gonna
right.
have that resolution from you again and leave it with Mike.
You're gonna leave it with me.
execution this evening.
Yeah.
We have to sign it
And
first.
if
We have to vote
certificate,
first.
It's referenced to also signed and sealed as part of those. proceedings.
I've got all the signature stuff up
Do
here.
you want to think about it?
Yeah, I'll take these and I'll get.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, that is it. We're gonna adjourn.
May I kind of comment real quick? And I'm not to harp on anybody, but I don't know when this was typed available. And I applaud John for being on the phone call. He's way more versed than the rest of us probably are, but I don't like being surprised. This felt a bit out of place for what we normally do. So if it was last minute, so be fine. But if it was like this morning, right after,
30 this
Have you
morning,
seen
right
the
after-
market?
just a chance. I know, but I'm talking about the resolution. Like that's
what we
that's it.
What drove it?
It was later
Yeah,
today.
and that's fine. I just wanted to make that
We
comment.
we
so.
probably should have sent that to you as soon as we got it, when we were kind of heading in this direction, so. Apologize for that.
Meeting in 2 days.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, so we stand adjourned. We do have here executive session. I think we'll.
Are we doing that? City may call.
We'll make it short. It'll be short. It'll be a short executive session. So we'll move into an executive session. So no action will be taken after this executive session. The executive session pursuant to the provision of the Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551, Government Code, Vernon, Texas codes annotated in accordance with the authority contained in section 551.071, consultation with the attorney. All right, if anybody needs a bio break, now's the time to do it. Yeah, time is 6:57.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have a good evening.